What's up YouTube, Tyler here from Yugioh, and I'm going to be doing a video on telling you what decks are good right now, we're going to see a lot of, and what the current meta is going to hold. It's only 2 months long, it's a short ban list, but there are events coming up, and there are things just to get a little comfortable with, so jump right to my whiteboard chart I got going on here. Start off with number 1 deck, definitely being Hat. This deck is just too good. It has 3 main problems, being the hands, artifacts, and trap tricks. It's basically just 3 really good archetypes built in one that somehow decided to work, and the rest is filled with good, like the best floodgate cards basically. And that balances out the whole deck. Floodgate's really a problem for the really good decks like Rulers, Mermails, Sylvans, because if they open up with like a Warning, Torrential, Bottomless from that Mermelio and the other cards, it tends to be a problem, and Sanctum is nothing to play around with either. So this deck is definitely number 1 going into it because it's overall good. It's just a good deck to play. It just does degenerate things with a very little cost. I'll go down to the second deck, and I'm going to go with Mermails. This deck, the deck I play personally, and I've tested a lot, is phenomenal. And the reason why it's really good now is because this rule change actually impacts how decks play. For example, Lightsworn Rulers, if you were to go second and I have a Yugioh on board, which is a very easy thing to do first turn, how do you resolve your mills? If you can't resolve mills, how do you win? And what happens if I stop your Curry Bandit? Or if you first turn you can't get something going, I make a establish board, I swing for about 6k, which is a normal thing, set up a nice board, and then you have about a turn. You don't have as many options as you do, and if you're playing that type of a deck, and you go first, and you lose game 1, and then you win game 2, your opponent's gonna go start game 3 with like a Light Imprisoning Mirror, because you play 3 of them. The soul exchange or whatever, one of the banishes out of the graveyard. They're gonna have established cards, so that's why it's not that good in my opinion. So Mermails are really good. They just have a really good Hat matchup because they didn't before. They used to get destroyed. Now it's a lot better due to the fact that if they go second, they can pick away those 5 cards as opposed to 6. It's just 1 card, I know what you mean, but it literally makes the biggest difference because all you gotta do is use up their resources and then soul charge, leave with a nice board, pass turn, because they don't have the recovery. The deck has never really had the best recovery, even though they have broken cards. So it also has a good Rulers matchup for the same exact reason. A lot of decks like this right now, the decks that are not playing Floodgate, really revolve around their die roll game. So if you win the die roll with one of those type of decks, and you're playing against a Floodgate deck, which you don't know at first, but you do tend to usually win fairly easily. So if you win the die roll, or if you don't, the Ruler matchup is really easy because it gives you have options to different type of like rank 4 plays, rank 3, rank 7, synchro plays even, where Rulers have their 7s and their synchros, but their first turn they can't make Yugiohs. That's basically what it comes down to. They can't make Yugiohs. Yugiohs is a huge deal, believe it or not. Not even for the fact that it's skill drains, for the fact that the Rulers and synchros cannot poke over your monsters because Farmer can attack. So it's just a really good option. And down to here, it's really good against Yugioh, always has been. Dropping Marksman and popping problems is really good. Even though this deck did get hit, there are some people who would not give up the dream. The structure will come out, but I don't think anytime soon. So for the people still playing Yugioh, Waters still has a great matchup against it, because the Marksman pop now is better than it ever has been. So if this is a deck that is seen play, it will mostly be the Card Curry version, and that will again have about the same. Card Curry version will turn less Floodgate and more into Swarm, like Rulers, Mermails, and Sylvans. So that's number 2. Third best deck. This was really hard. I personally think this is kind of like a tie between second, but I'll definitely go Infernity. This deck is literally amazing right now because it plays good cards. It plays Floodgate. You win the die roll. You instantly get to do whatever you want. Like if you feel comfortable going first, go first. Do all your stuff. It's just an overall good deck. Has a good matchup against Rulers. Has a good matchup against Water. Sylvans. It just does what Infernity's has always done, and it just swarms the field, puts up good monsters and a lot of good spells and traps, and because of that, it's hard to get over those type of things. when you're playing a deck like Ruler, Morel, Sylvans, those type of swarm decks, it's hard to get over a good monster. It's hard to get over good monsters and amazing back row when you know exactly what's there. It's hard playing around certain things sometimes. Even when you go out of the way to pop it, it's tough. So that's why I say Inferni is 3, and with the new die roll rule, if your opponent needs to go second, and they want you to go first, even though you have 5 cards, going first in Inferni is great. And if you win the die roll, if they choose to go first and you go second, you have 6 cards to their 5, so you might be able to get your combo off fairly stronger. So I think it's a win-win with the new die roll rule. I think that's made the biggest deal. That being 3. 4, definitely go with Sylvans. Sylvans is an overall huge combo-based deck. Puts out like Felgren Dragosec, which is a problem. Miracle Fertilizer is literally too good. The field spell is way too good. They just do really good stuff, and it has a good Inferni matchup. It has a good water matchup when they open up Soulfire or Soulcharge, Soulfire, whatever it's called. It's literally like it's a pretty nutty thing. Like you can play over it, but it's hard trying to get your normal start off plays when your opponent has a Dragossack and a Felgren. Getting over Felgren is like, it's a thing, but if you don't draw the breakthrough, you don't draw an answer to like the break or whatever, then you have to kind of dick around with him until you can get rid of it. So it's an overall good deck. It's a very popular deck, and a lot of good combo-based stuff happens in it. So 4. 5, Rulers. This deck is as good as it always is. You know, it's an overall good deck. Personally, the fact that you can play main deck Skill Drain has a great advantage over a lot of things. Like the main deck 2 Skill Drain, like side of third, or if you're going crazy, main 3. It's just, it hurts a lot of decks. So if you start the duel and you can resolve your Curry Bandit and your Card Trooper, and you can set up a play, like you draw any of your 3 spells being traded in Cause Constance or the Shrine, and then you have a Skill Drain. It's really hard for your opponent to get over a 28 monster next turn, a Card Trooper that they're going to have to attack over, then you draw, and then they have a Skill Drain problem. So if they don't have the space or the answer, it tends to be a problem. And it just puts out the big monsters that your opponent really has trouble getting over sometimes. So whether you go first or second, it's an overall good deck. And I would just throw the Yugioh in there for the fans, because you know what I mean? Like, it's Yugioh. You're going to see a lot of really loyal players that just really love their archetypes still play it. I personally like the Card Curry build. I don't know how good it's going to be in the current meta or the upcoming meta. But until the new support, it's going to be you're going to see the people playing it before with Card Curry, playing it again. It does hit the same combo, it does hit all the same stuff. People are probably going to play the Rescue Rabbit Trap card still in it, and synchro with this type of stuff, and do all that stuff. So who knows, maybe there'll be a faster TK. And it has a good matchup against Rulers if they set up. It also has a good matchup against Hat, unless they got that Acid Golem main, the Acid Trap Hole main, because that's just unfortunate. And also, Rulers does have a good matchup against Inferni, and it does have a good matchup against certain things, but it's such a versatile deck that it's hard to tell. Like if your opponent is playing Hat and you open, you know, Stardust and a Wing Blast, you know, and they don't have the answer for the Wing Blast, it's a pretty good option. And from right here, decent decks. This is kind of overall, it's really broad, but Floodgate decks, the heavy back row, they're playing all the good ones, is usually going to do very well. A good Burn deck, I personally think Burn is quite good right now, because your opponent will draw less options. Because if you can steal game 1, and they choose for you to go first, you can set up. If they choose them to go first, you have 6 cards, and they might not draw the out options in time. I just think it's not a bad deck at all right now. And explosive turn 1 through 3 GG games, being this, or this, and anything huge combo based that you can just kill right away. Sleeper decks, in my opinion. Danny's been talking to me a lot about Spellbooks. I think Spellbooks is a huge sleeper deck, and I think it's something that's to look out for. I mean, they still do the same stuff, but the rule, man. The rule is literally a killer rule right now. So this is about it. This is what we're looking at for the next 2 months. This and the fact that Yugioh is awesome card. I'm in love with the card. So this is the meta. So check it out and like, sub, all that stuff.